Hey guys, Vinnie Mirchandani. Real pleasure to have Jeff Robertson. I think he's calling us from his room, his house just outside the Rockies. Jeff is COO at Maxar. Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and Maxar?
Thanks, Vinny. I wish this was my view outside of my house. It's actually one of our products. We operate Earth observation satellites at Maxar, and one of our satellites took this really cool picture of Mount Fitzroy in South America. It's taken from the horizon, thousands of miles away, and it's a pretty cool product that we have. But anyways, yeah, I am the Chief Operations Officer at Maxar. Maxar is a space and technology company. We have two main businesses. One is what we call Earth Intelligence, and in our Earth Intelligence business, we have a lot of imagery-related products. So we look to seek to understand the world. We seek to also predict and identify change in the world. And we use our assets, as I mentioned before, our satellite ops assets, as well as a lot of ground technology and analytics kind of capabilities, machine learning, et cetera, to serve our customers. The other side of our business we call space infrastructure. And this side of the business creates connections between space and Earth. And we do that by manufacturing satellite capabilities, communication satellites. We manufacture Earth observation satellites. We also are in the middle of NASA missions, Artemis and return to the moon, et cetera. We have robotics capabilities that we manufacture as well. And so interesting fact that all 5 rovers on Mars have Maxar technology on them. So quite an interesting business, and one that is very important to our nation as well as many nations across the globe.
Jeff, when I met you last year, you made a pixel sound so interesting, right? And in your business, you do turn every pixel into something really strategic, right? So this is, you run a pretty low-tech business, sounds like.
we deal with a lot of super smart people. I've never worked for a company that had so many PhDs and smart people, I tell you.
You're being modest. Aren't you also, Jeff, isn't part of your role also to coordinate the COVID-19 response for Maxar? Isn't that
Yeah.
You've had?
It is that.
Now that you didn't have enough to do, they added another thing to your plate.
Yeah, it's one of my new hats recently. So I am Mr. COVID basically for Maxar, and it's been a great opportunity to dive into our business continuity and operations and actually connect with a lot of our team members on that subject. But that's been very time consuming in the last few months.
Let's come back to that because a lot of people are interested in reopening the economy, right? And I'm sure you're doing it very, very carefully. A lot of safety issues and so on. But let's come back to that. Jeff, in all the doom and gloom, we've seen unbelievable heroics, right? You've seen auto companies jump into making medical ventilators. You've seen 3M quadruple their N95 capacity. We're seeing last mile logistics work, all kinds of backflips, healthcare heroics, and so on. I'm sure you've seen some heroics. Tell us some of the stuff, unclassified stuff you can talk about that customers have been doing with your imagery in the last couple of months. I would imagine health, hotspots, and logistics. There must be all kinds of use cases.
Yeah, there's our missions that we serve are very important to our customers and, as I mentioned, to our nation. One of the areas that we find ourselves uniquely positioned, as you mentioned, we work with a lot of governments, and yet we are a commercial entity, and so we are able to, in this crisis, bring to our customers kind of commercial capabilities that can be executed from anywhere on the planet to serve some missions. So as an example, in some of our US government customers that traditionally have only done their missions in classified space where everyone has to come together in a special office, right? We are now able to help them serve their missions, but do it in a commercial space. And we leverage kind of our cloud computing capabilities, our remote operations, a lot of different things to serve this. So in our imagery and mapping and analytics capabilities, keeping those important missions kind of moving. That's I think one great acrobatic that we've been able to pivot with our customers on. You mentioned auto industries and others helping with the crisis too, and I'll just have a brief mention. Our manufacturing operations in California have also pivoted a bit, and we're making PPE to help frontline workers as well. So we've done some pivots in that respect as well.
On the first point you made, I imagine there's no Zoom bombings, no young kids walking into those sessions.
Well, personally, like internally, I tell you, and I know we'll probably get to that. I am getting to know personally my team a whole lot better. I know their pets. I know their kids by name and face now, and I think that's a wonderful aspect of this crisis, is getting to know our teams a little bit better. And everyone is really understanding that this is a new situation we're in, and it's just actually kind of fun to let your hair down a little bit.
You know, Jeff, every interview I've done with executives like you tends to be humorous, pragmatic. You look at media and social media, I mean, it's just so negative. So I'm glad I get to spend time with folks like you.
Appreciate it, Vinnie.
Let's talk about your IT. What for various reasons you cannot be all in the cloud. I've heard from several CIOs that cloud applications made the transition to work from home a lot easier. What was the Maxar experience?
Yeah, we pride ourselves. We're a high-tech company, and our infrastructure supported the transition to work from home very well. Business continuity is critical, as I mentioned, and so we have been prepared and continue to prepare, for these situations. And I'm very proud of my IT team in particular. They responded amazingly to the missions and making sure we supported them. A lot of the missions, as I mentioned, they changed protocols and needed some new things, but the foundation was really solid. And as you mentioned, we're a mix between on-prem and cloud-based capabilities. And in that example I gave earlier, our ability to scale in the cloud to deal with our customer spikes, basically, as they change their protocols using commercial capabilities, that's been instrumental in our model.
So you've been able to scale volumes pretty easily?
Yeah, we haven't had any scaling related issues. Obviously, we're not Zoom, basically, in that sense, but it's been important to be resilient, and we haven't had the challenges of predominantly working from home and being able to support all of our critical operations. So that's great.
That's great. The volumes, as a former CIO, the volumes that we've seen with all the emergency loans and all the state unemployment claims and all that, it's amazing. IT infrastructure has done a pretty good job. And not to mention, like you say, the Zoom traffic has been, I think I read it's 7 million gigabytes a day or something crazy.
It is crazy. It's just amazing. And so, yeah, I give a lot of the other technology firms a lot of credit for supporting us and obviously the world in this new situation.
Yeah. Let's talk about the new normal as you see it in your sector. What new use cases do you see? What new competitors, new entrants? It seems like barriers to entry in every industry have fallen down in the last couple of months. and what consolidation, what are you seeing in your sector?
Yeah, well, I guess broadly speaking, in the sector, we have some challenging capabilities in our sector. So space, we say space is hard, and it takes a lot of depth of capability, knowledge, and infrastructures to perform in that. So we're not seeing a lot of new entrants, but what we are, and frankly, Maxar prides ourselves on, is being disruptive to ourselves and with our customers. And so we're finding that we're able to support different ways of doing business with our customers, and being a part of that. And so that is great. Internally, I think work from home is going to be very much a grander part of our operating environment. And we have task force right now going on to really rethink how our operating protocols should be, from interacting with customers and international travel, to work from home, to software development, engineering, and even manufacturing, how we do that differently. Supply chain is a big area of focus as well, as we relook at supply chain risks and dependencies as well, because that has been one area that we've seen more impact than we would like.
I think just about every discussion, even I had a call with a restaurant CIO yesterday, even their supply chain has been disrupted, right? But most people are talking about the dependence on China, and yeah, there's a lot of rethinking going on around supply chains. Go back to your COVID hat again. As you're looking at reopening, are you doing a lot of, workplace hygiene, distancing, temperature checks, tests type of thinking?
Yeah.
Just spend a couple of minutes talking about what.
Sure.
Yeah.
We were very conservative in entering this crisis. We moved very quickly to new protocols and work from home before most governments and most companies did. And so I'm very pleased with our team's response, and with our predominant focus here of the health and safety of our employees, their families, and frankly, the communities that we work with. And that was paramount as we look at this. And then also supporting those critical missions that where we do need to have on-site personnel to support some of these missions, they are in the safest posture possible. So we've been very pleased with that, and we're very comfortably operating and supporting those missions. As I've been talking to the team, this what we call return to the work site or return to protocols are incredibly more complicated than quickly moving to what we call our RED protocol, which is a limited, isolated operations, on-site operations. And so the team is deeply working through that. And to be frank, we're in no rush to put anyone in harm's way. We are doing just fine in our protocols now. But we do recognize that there is value in certain use cases to returning people together in certain cases, or back to the office in some cases. We also recognize that our Maxar community sometimes needs and is fed by being together a little bit more too. And so that is on the horizon. We do have in all of our office, we have a lot of protocols in place around cleaning, additional cleaning, isolation strategies. We have temperature check programs. I never thought, Vinnie, I would know as much about temperature checks and variants and thermometers. And gee, if it's 30 degrees outside and you take somebody's temperature on their forehead, what does that result in? It's quite crazy.
Is it? Do you get false positives or?
Yeah, we thought we had walking zombies for a while in our operations. But we quickly recognized what was kind of going on. But those protocols are important for health safety. So PPE was challenging at first, but we have good protocols. We're also doing some interesting things right now around in our workplace flow control, we call it. So how do you move about the organization in certain patterns so you're limiting contact, where people have to be in the operation. As we return, there's just so many considerations, cube configurations and spacing and how many people and just making sure everyone has a different point of view right now on whether wearing a mask is important or not. And so, we're having a lot of governance and communication, on these protocols.
Jeff, that you could probably write a case study on what you're doing, right? I mean, I've talked to several executives about return to home, and a couple of them said exactly what you said. Shutting down was a lot easier than opening up.
Yeah.
Because each jurisdiction has contradictory guidance, and then you got like your own safety concerns have to be superimposed on top of that. So it's been interesting.
Entering the crisis was hard because you had jurisdictions doing different things and not recognizing certain national security related needs and things like that. Same thing on the way out of this. People are all over the board. Every community is different in the cases that they have, their ability to do testing, et cetera. And so it's very hard. We're going to be very conservative in our exit.
Jeff, thank you for your service doing that. On behalf of the communities, I mean, I'm glad you're being ultra cautious. Jeff, a question that I've been asking everybody: put your economist hat on, put on your CFO hat on. What do you see in the recovery? Is it a V? Is it going to be a sharp rebound? Is it going to be a U, a gradual rebound? Is it going to be a W, choppy, right? Or is it going to be an L, dead for a while? So, what would you say?
Yeah, right now, my vantage point is, I think we're going to be in a W kind of configuration. I think we're going to see some jurisdictions moving too quickly, not having the right protocols in place in the community to contain the outbreaks. And so I imagine we will be choppy, kind of go back and forth in our protocols. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be a bit prolonged, and it'll be hard, again, gradual. Even with that W, it'll be a gradual improvement. But I do foresee this lasting for quite a fair amount of time through this year, and depending on how this virus reacts, maybe coming back next fall.
Well, I was hoping you'd be a little more optimistic, but you've always been pragmatic. So I was hoping you'd raise your V and go, it's going to be a sharp rebound.
Yeah, and I guess maybe that's a little bit my mode too. As operations people always plan for the worst and hope for the best, right? So that's what we'll do.
Jeff, one final question. Any final thoughts? More wisdom to share with fellow executives?
I'd say the one thing that has been great through this process, I kind of touched upon it a little bit before, but it's engaging with our workforce and really listening. It's a great opportunity for leaders to really understand your teams better and understand their stressors and connect better. I think companies that are able to do that and build trust in their workforce will have dividends to pay long term through this. And that's our approach here. There's so much unknown through this. There's so many difficult decisions, and we're being humble as leaders, saying we may not get this right, but we will listen and react and get better. We're listening to our employees, and each employee, they're different stressors. Some are very afraid to come back to work. Some are very afraid to stay at home in isolation, right, and are concerned. And so we have to figure out the balance, for everyone.
Jeff, that's a great point. And the other thing I've heard is customers are going to remember for a long time, if you do special, go a long way for them, right? I mean, people are really being grateful for some acrobatics that companies are doing and individuals are doing for them. So yeah, if you take care of your employees and your customers in this phase, it's going to pay off long term.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, what is it, Vinny, an old Southwest adage, Herbs, take care of your employees, they take care of your customers take care of your investors, right? Very much in that mode here.
Jeff, this has been fantastic. You know, it's always good to see you smiling. And even though we're a little bit too pragmatic for on this item, I appreciate all your input. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Vinny. Always good to catch up with you and chat.
Stay safe, and we can have some more babies Zoom bombers.
We hope not, but thanks, Vinny. Take care.